It's the greatest Champions League final in history. And to be honest, I think it'll never be beat.
I would go further than that. I think probably the best major final ever played in any competition.
I think anybody who says that that is not the greatest Champions League final must have at least an Everton shirt and probably an Everton tattoo.
If you're a Milan fan, you're obviously not going to say it was the greatest Champions League final in history.
You have everything. One of the best teams in the world, right on the underdogs. That never give up. That's football. That's what we all love about this sport. For me, it is the best Champions League final of all times.
A night that you're never, ever going to forget.
Something that you can't dream about it, because a dream almost wouldn't do it justice.
Who were the favorites and who were the underdogs? We were the underdogs. I think no one from the beginning of the season was betting on Liverpool to get into the final.
Liverpool had somehow made it to this final, and they were by no means the best team in England at that point in time. In fact, you wouldn't really say that they were in the top four in England at that particular time.
They had a new coach in Rafa Benitez that year who didn't quite get off on the right foot straight away. It was a bit of a slow burn, I think, for him to gain the favour of a lot of fans.
We'd been pretty rubbish in the league. We had obviously the nightmare in the FA Cup against Burnley. But in Europe, we look good. I think having a manager like Rafa Benitez really helped us.
I felt like every step was going to be a step too far to that team because it was still developing and had some really good players, but a few that probably weren't of the normal quality, let's say, to be in a Champions League final.
Whereas this Milan side had a lot of the players who had become Champions League winners a couple years earlier. Maldini and Cafu and Nesta at the back, to a midfield which included Pirlo and Clarence Seedorf, and of course Ricky Kaká, to Shevchenko and Crespo up front, and Carlo Ancelotti on the bench, of course. I think top to bottom, most people had Milan as favourites.
It was very clear from a few days out that there were many more Liverpool fans in Istanbul than there were Milan fans. I'll tell you what, I didn't actually see a Milan fan until the morning of the game.
It can probably be explained by the fact that this was Liverpool's first European Cup final since Heysel.
And maybe it was also a reflection of the fact that there was an expectation with Milan at that time. It wasn't a particularly big deal for them to be in this Champions League final. I mean, it's always a big deal to an extent, but they had come to expect it. Liverpool fans, I don't think at the start of that season under Rafa Benitez, really thought this is in our future.
European Cup finals were things that my dad had told me about from the 1970s and the 1980s, and I didn't think I was ever going to get to one, if I'm being totally honest. So to be walking into the ground as a Liverpool fan with my best mates, knowing that we were going to watch Liverpool potentially win a European Cup, was an unbelievable experience.
We could feel that the Liverpool supporters are right from every piece of the world. We could see, of course, the AC Milan fans were right on our right side, our right hand. But definitely the atmosphere that the Liverpool supporters created was really special and part of why we after lift the trophy.
It felt like all your dreams being at a Champions League final and seeing the players coming out and look fantastic in the red tracksuits, and the Milan looks brilliant, and then they score straight away, and it's almost like, you know, you suddenly sober up, the reality hits you, and you remember, yeah, you might be here for a celebration, but we were in for a very tough night.
We've gone from what I'd say probably one of the highest points as a Liverpool fan to feeling pretty deflated rather quickly.
You've been working for 9 months to get ready for a game like this one. Probably you've been dreaming with that game your whole life, and you received that slap into your face right after 1 minute.
It changed a little bit everything in your head, but you have to stick with the game plan, because the idea was, first of all, not to concede an early goal. We did it, so then we have to carry on doing the same things and be sure that you keep the intensity.
They were trying to get themselves back into the game, and then Milan going up to the other end of the pitch and scoring. And I think many of us at that point thought, this could be a really long night for Liverpool.
Yeah, I've got a really good memory of the third goal in particular, and the ball that goes over, and you're seeing Jamie Carragher stretching for it, and you're just hoping that he gets a foot to it, and obviously he doesn't quite get there, and then the finish is brilliant.
Well, it was a really classy goal by Crespo, and it had the feeling of game, set and match, to be honest. 3-0 in a Champions League final.
At halftime, it was game over. I mean, there's no way. It's not just that nobody's going to come back from 3-0 down. But more than the scoreline, it was just how one-sided the game had been.
I was taking my notes with 2-0 down, and then we conceded the third goal. So what I said before, I wanted to be clear with the message. No, I have to keep giving belief, hope to my players, and that was the main thing. What I said at halftime was we have 45 minutes to change this. We have nothing to lose because we were already losing, and then if we score an early goal, we'll be back into the game, and it's what will happen at the end.
I'll be honest, if there had been a pub within an achievable distance of getting out of that ground, I think I would have spat my tummy out like a big child, and I'd have probably left the ground. Thank goodness I didn't.
You know, we were like kids on Christmas Day, coming down in the morning all excited and realising there was no presents. You know, that's how it felt like. That's the only way I can describe it, really. You'd built it up, you got yourself all excited, you'd run down the stairs, and all there was a lump of a coal.
We were to the dressing room looking at each other, trying to think about what we did wrong. We couldn't find the way to stop that AC Milan. It's not because we didn't play well, but definitely they were just too good. It was very difficult to stop the players in the middle of the park. The transition they were doing was fantastic.
We thought to ourselves, this could get really ugly if Milan choose to put their foot on the accelerator in the second half. And I was going over my notes, making sure I had in my head, you know, what the biggest margins of victory had been in major European finals.
And Steven Gerrard just mentioned that we had so many people outside. We should think about trying to make our last effort, make them proud, and at least not make the worst game in the history.
But the Liverpool fans kept going. They continued, I think, making a racket. I don't want to say they were accepting defeat, but there certainly was no resignation. There was no sense that, oh, let's all be muted and sad now. No, I think even at halftime, Liverpool fans were still very much audible, although obviously, it was Milan who were celebrating.
The fans singing halftime when you're losing 3-0, I think is something that you haven't seen in any other team or any other final, no, to be fair.
When people started singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" at half-time, which went on to become very iconic moments, I actually said, oh, it's not the answer to everything, you know.
Certainly I was singing it more in solidarity than it was in defiance. You know, it wasn't a rallying cry by any stretch of the imagination. It was more telling the players we were sort of still with them rather than any idea that we could turn it round.
Even if we'd have got beat, I think I'd still remember that for the rest of my days. But obviously, you could say maybe it inspired the players or whatever. It might have just been a coincidence. But I think if the players were listening to that, having been as down as I imagine they felt at half-time, that can only have helped.
The most important was when we arrived into the pitch and we felt that "You Will Never Walk Alone" sung by the supporters. We felt like we start again the game, and that's how we did it.
As the game kicked off for the second half, we were wondering what Rafa could do to change things around.
I'll be honest, I really thought, and you don't betray this with your voice or your tone when you're commentating, I really thought it was probably over.
This was not a good Liverpool team. I mean, obviously you had stalwarts, you had Gerrard, you had Xabi Alonso in midfield, you had Carragher, but when you look to the bench, it's not like you had these superstars ready to come in off the bench. You had, people like Gibril Cisse, people like Vladimir Smicer. You felt that Milan certainly, they had the technical ability to keep the ball and maybe add to it on the break.
When we started the second half, in our mind was to try to be stronger and more solid in the middle of the park, but in our hand he has to go forward, trying to score that first goal to give us a little bit of hope. And
our plan was to change to 3 at the back, giving us more control in the middle with Didi Hamann and Xabi Alonso. So to have this control in the middle, where they were stronger and they were better than us in the first half, then after that, try to go forward, and we did it, and we did well.
Well, it was sort of a typical Steven Gerrard moment, because we all knew what Gerrard could do. We all knew that he, was Liverpool to the core, and that if anybody was going to score an individual goal, then look no further than Mr. Liverpool himself.
Corny as it sounds, it was very much a captain's header and a captain's reaction as well, because it was what you would call, I think, a bullet header to the far post.
Not many times you're going to see Steven Gerrard scoring headers, and we found ourselves with that first goal with his header from a very long range, top corner, that gave us the boost to continue working and to continue pushing.
Certainly Liverpool fans celebrated because they just saw they scored a goal in the Champions League final. I don't think the reaction was, right, here we go.
I didn't celebrate the goal. I was too busy shouting at the players that they were still letting us down. Go and get the ball out the net and go again.
I don't remember at that point feeling a wave of optimism particularly. It was just like, well, at least we've made it respectable.
Gerrard felt differently because his reaction when he ran back towards the halfway line, he's waving his hands in the air. He's almost kind of like beckoning, summoning the Liverpool fans to go and make noise and to go and cheer them on.
I love Liverpool Football Club a lot, so I was still hating at the time, and it went in. Gerrard G's the crowd up, and my reaction was less of a yes, come on, as a no, you do your job. Obviously, I was happy we'd scored, but I still don't think at that moment I believed there was anything in the game for us.
I remember in commentary saying that Liverpool are back in this contest just as Smicer took the ball. So I said, Liverpool are back in this contest. Smicer shoots. It hits the back of the net, and I say, with a vengeance.
I think that no one was expecting Vladimir Smicer to get a shot from that distance. No one.
I think I, like everybody else in the ground and in the world watching on television, was thinking, Smicer, don't shoot from there. Smicer, don't shoot from there.
We were shouting, pass the ball, but he decided, I think he didn't see any of the players around him, and he decided to try his luck from that distance.
Gita should have done better. I think when you look at the goal, he would say he should have stopped it.
And I think because of the crowd of players in front of them, maybe Dida's late getting down, but Dida in the Milan goal definitely get to the ball, and I don't think there's any question you would have expected him to keep that ball out.
But when it hit the back of the net, oh my God, did my whole demeanour changed. It's fair to say our ends just erupted.
And the sound that I heard, it was amazing. It was fantastic to feel that the supporters never gave up on us, and we were just one game closer.
And it was just one of these things you could feel inside the stadium. I didn't really feel it until that moment. But at 3-2, I thought to myself, right, this might be on.
And in that moment, you just had a collective feeling of, oh my God, if there's any team in the world that could actually do this, it's us, and it might be on.
It was a beautiful goal, and I think that Vladimir Smicer, after the tough season that he had with the injuries, not getting involved into the team, to have that goal, it was his last game for Liverpool. I think it was just fantastic to see him score that goal.
Stevie goes down and you're screaming for a penalty, and it's quite far away from us, the far end, but you're screaming for it.
Gattuso pulls him down. He should have been sent off, by the way. And I think Jamie Carragher tried to make that point to the referee as well.
I thought it was a bit generous, a bit, certainly you could argue whether it was a foul. There's no question, to me at least, that Gerrard kind of feels the tug and allows himself to go down.
He goes, and then you're just like ecstatic, but then there's the moment of realisation that, well, he's still got to score it.
When he steps up to take it, you're just thinking, oh my God, please just do the right thing here.
All of a sudden, I mean, you can see, even in the stands, you can see just terror in the faces of the Milan fans.
Milan, the coolest team in Europe, they'd lost their cool. They weren't expecting this at all.
And obviously, the goalkeeper actually saves the penalty, but Alonso's that composed and that cool of a character that he manages to then slag the rebound with his wrong foot. Some player that he was.
He reacted so quick. He managed to arrive to the ball and put the ball into the net. And as you can imagine, the thought for ourselves, it was to run, to celebrate, to try to release all that tension and pressure that we felt for during all the game.
The roof absolutely came off the Atatürk Stadium.
That moment was pandemonium. I've been in some unbelievable ends as a Liverpool fan, and I've celebrated some massive goals with some crazy celebrations. but you go a long way to beat that feeling.
That was the biggest celebration, that. Almost at the night, the 3-0. You couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe they turned it round and so quickly as well.
I remember just thinking to myself, wow, this is, why we commentate. This is why we are fans. This is why we love football.
Not only is it just completely unprecedented, I don't think any of these Milan players had ever played in a game like that, even as in the under 8s where they were 3-0 up and then it was 3-3 with the 3 goals coming so quickly one after the other.
You could see the reaction on them. They were talking to each other. They were blaming to each other because they couldn't understand what was happening. And for us, we knew that was a moment for us to try to grab the wheel and try to get in advantage.
But then AC Milan, because they were an unbelievable side with some of the best players in the world at the time, they come back into the game and they put us through the ringer for the last half an hour or so. I'd say Steven Gerrard put a performance of a lifetime in about 3 or 4 different positions. He was playing right back at the stage.
For us, it was all about those 3 goals. Get the 3 goals and that defense as there is no tomorrow.
I just remember thinking that everybody looked tired. I remember looking around at the players and thinking to myself, yeah, they've already been, put through the mill here, both sets of players.
We knew that AC Milan was to get it onto us. It was going to dominate those 30 minutes, but we were ready to fight. We did it before. We knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but we knew also that we were a very strong and confident team, and we managed to keep our goal in safe.
Milan's reaction when it got to 3-3 afterwards, it was exactly the reaction that you wanted. Let's go and remedy this. Let's go and win this. Let's go and destroy them like we'd been destroying them in the first half. And they did. It's just they couldn't get the ball over the line, partly because Dudek was walking on air at that point.
Jerzy Dudek was nobody's idea of the best goalkeeper in the world at that point in time.
The Dudek save from Shevchenko was right in front of us. I was right behind the goal. I was about 12 or 13 rows up, so I had a decent vantage point, and it just drops him and you think goal. And you also think that's it, because if he'd have scored then, it was game over.
You're waiting to say Shevchenko, and you're probably going to be the goal that decides the game. And then there is Jerzy Dudek, who, as I said, is a good goalkeeper, but the goalkeeper who has had his ups and downs, and then pulls off this moment of just goalkeeping magic.
When he saved that, because obviously it's a goal. It's the best striker in the world, 3 yards out, and it's a goal. It's guaranteed to be a goal. And he makes the first save and he somehow just sticks his hand out and the second one goes over the bar. And I'm not one for saying our name's on the cup, but at that moment there was only one team that was going to win it, and that was, from that moment on, I knew we were going to be the European champions.
I had the option to talk with Jerzy Dudek many times, and I always ask him the same question: how did you manage? And not even him knows how he managed to get that fantastic save. The first one, of course, is a fantastic keeper, but the second one is really a miracle, and well, you need a miracle to win that game.
It was too quick, so you were not expecting that, and it was unbelievable. But at this time, when you have more belief, it's just listen, everything is in our favor, in the second half, and then extra time and penalty. So you had the belief before, but at this time even more.
Once the game went to penalties, I was thinking to myself, Milan still have this.
Liverpool famously didn't practice penalties before that final. So I remember using that line going into the penalty shootout.
Milan had won a Champions League final on penalties 2 years earlier against Juventus at Old Trafford. Dida had a tremendous record as a penalty saver, and of course had saved a penalty earlier from Liverpool's penalty taker.
We knew what was going on, we knew where they were taking the penalty, so it was an advantage. Apart from the movements of Grovelar that Jerzy today was doing, and Carragher told him, do the movements. But I think we had this advantage.
Jamie Carragher got hold of Dudek and was sort of shaking him up and down, almost as if to say, do whatever it takes, do whatever it takes.
I think that it was Jamie Carragher who talked to him, and he told him, listen, no, don't try to be nice, just try to put him out of the comfort zone, trying to put the focus out.
If you're a real old-timer, you'll remember Grobbelaar, with his bandy legs.
It turned out he had spent his preparation for this final watching Grobbelaar, watching Bruce Grobbelaar's antics from 1984.
And I think that he did a fantastic job. He was ready for it. I think he managed to to get into the head of Serginho.
They missed the first one, and I'm like, we're winning. A lot of it's on momentum, and a lot of it's on the stories that you tell yourself. And they must have gone into that penalty shootout thinking, how on earth are we in a penalty shootout? And we're going in thinking, well, there's nothing to lose here. You know, we never even thought we'd get to the final.
If Liverpool are taking a penalty, I can't watch. I've got like a superstition. So I didn't actually see any of our penalties, but I've watched all of theirs. And obviously, Jerzy Dudek puts in a performance that I don't think he'd never done before, and I don't think he ever did again, but he saved it for the most special moment that he could.
I think when Liverpool got into a position of control in that shootout, it became very clear that there was a certain fate or destiny at work.
As Shevchenko was stepping up to take the penalty, I just turned around to my mate and I just went to him, if he misses this, are we European champions? And my mate went, yeah. And I can still vividly remember having that conversation, and then obviously steps up and Jerzy does what he does, and then from that moment on it was absolute pandemonium again in our end.
This is why we don't script commentary. This is why we simply have to react to what we see in front of us. And I think all I said, I didn't say anything or try to say anything particularly profound. I think I simply said, you know, saved by Dudek. And then I think I said, against all the odds, against all expectations, and then pause for a second, almost in disbelief. Liverpool are the champions of Europe.
We went crazy. We started running. Even Harry Kewell got an injury. He pulled his groin. He was flying to get together and celebrate with Jerzy Dudek. I think that it was an amazing game for everyone, not even for the supporters of football. I think it's been an amazing game of roller coaster of emotion. I think we saw everything, just not giving up. It was our main thing, and I think that we deserved to win that game.
The celebrations were incredible because they were a little bit impromptu. It looked like a bunch of lads just celebrating the night of their lives.
Hugging and kissing people you've never seen before, never seen since.
I just remember disbelief and then sinking to my knees, like, oh, because I've been stood up for so long, I think all the energy sort of, you know, every last bit of energy go out of me. And then I remember my sister giving me a hug, and it was just incredible scenes.
The feeling to win a European Cup is so huge. There's a mystique about the European Cup, even down to it's the most beautiful cup that there is to win in any sport, in my opinion. It's got them lovely big handles, it's a massive trophy, gleaming. My
memories went back to being a kid, watching all those videos and watching, you know, Graham Souness throwing it about and Phil Thompson lifting it, and then the stories of him taking it to the pub in Kirby. And now this team have done it, and you were there to watch it.
To be honest, we were just so tired. We were running for 120 minutes. We were exhausted, all of us. We were cramping. You could see that the intention and the emotion help us to run around and to jump into our families and our friends. But definitely the celebration was more about enjoying what we did and just to share it with the ones we love.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I am not someone that will be jumping around the pitch, but inside was the feeling of we have done something great. And also you could hear the fans, you could feel the atmosphere was amazing. And after the celebrations in Istanbul and also in Liverpool, it was amazing. It's something that we are talking 20 years after about that, is because it was the best final ever in terms of emotions.
Liverpool had done it, I was going to say the hard way, the impossible way. It's doubtful that we will see that again in a Champions League final, but the shock on Milan faces really stood out. It was as though they had seen ghosts, all of them.
What I remember very clearly is the trip back from the stadium. I remember arriving there around maybe 2:30 in the morning, and one picture that is going to stay with me in my mind forever was, you know, Steven Gerrard sitting kind of in this sort of white easy chair, and then next to him is like a little coffee table, and on top of the coffee table is the European Cup with the big ears, and Gerrard just staring at it for just what felt like an eternity. I mean, he looked like somebody who was completely spent, who had nothing left to give.
You can play better football, you can score more goals, or you can talk about the game, but in terms of overall the atmosphere and the way that things were going on, I think was the best ever. And I don't know if it will be another one similar to this one, but I don't see any fans, any supporters singing halftime, losing 3-0, still supporting the team in the way that the Liverpool fans were doing at this time.